So here in this topic, what we are going to cover, we are going to learn how to add extra partition into the system, right? How to add new hard disk or new partition into the system. Okay. So just like if you see the terminal, I hope you are able to see my terminal, right? So here into the system, if you check df-h, so see, we have only how much partition we have? We have one SDA and which is mounted on root, and we have one partition which is mounted on the boot. And if you see fdisk space -l, right? So here you will see one disk of 40 GB is added into the system. Second one is one disk of 2 GB is added. So in this 2 GB, we have this partitions right here. Okay, great. Okay, so now what is the task here? I'm just going to add one extra disk on the system of 5 GB, right? Let's suppose one requirement someone is asked you, just create one disk on the system or attach one secondary disk on the system and mount it into the right data folder. Just like here, if you see df-h, we don't have any data folder showing here, right? So they wanted to just mount into the / data folder. Okay, on this. So currently we don't have this one. So okay, so let's add it. So how you will perform it? First, you have to add hard disks into the system. So how you will add hard disks into the system? So let me give you some background on this. Depend on the scenario. If you are working into the AWS, you have to add from there. If you are working on the right VMware, you have to add this from there. And here we are working on the virtual machine. So first you have to add a 5 GB disk on a virtual machine. So let's add that. Okay. So I'm just going to share this. How I can do. Okay. Okay. So let me just share my screen, another screen. Stop sharing. Share. Okay, so I'm sharing my full screen once here. So see here, I have this server running. So many disks is here. So I'm just going to shut down it. So first you have to shut it down so that you can basically, get that setting enabled, right? So I'm going to shut it down. So I shut it down from command line. So it is shutting down. So done. So just click on this, right click on the server which you have. So see, I have multiple server created in my virtual box. So I'm running this one. So going to the storage here. So see, 2 disk is already attached here. So if you wanted to add another disk, what you have to do? Again, you just have to select SATA, and then here you have an option. Either you want to add optical or either you want to add a disk. So let's click on it. So here see, some disk is already created here, Red Hat 2, 3. So I'm not going to touch existing one. I'm just going to create a new disk. So create a new, and then next, and then you can define the size, whatever size you wanted to use, right? So I'm just going to create a disk for 5 GB. So use 5 GB. Okay, and then finish it. Okay, so now new disk is created, new, and just select it and choose it and add. So now see, you have three disks here, right? 1, 2, 3. All three disks is attached. So just click on OK and then start your server. Okay. Start your server. Started. So, okay. So it will boot automatically. Okay. Okay. So let's come on our screen again. Now we are back into the terminal. Login. Red Hat. Okay. So now we have logged in into the server again. So here, now the first thing what we did, we added a hard disk. Remember the step. First step, you have to add a hard disk, right? Now, fdisk space L, if you will run fdisk space L, you will see newly added hard disk into the system. So see here, we have now SDC hard disk here, dev/SDC. So inside dev SDC, you don't see any partition. See, if you will see partition, you will see address like dev SDC 1, 2, 3 like this, right? So now we have added 5 GB hard disk. All right. So next step, what you have to do, you have to create partition into this hard disk, right? So let's create it. How you will create partition? Sorry, how you will create partition? Fdisk space /dev SDC, right? So this is the partition in which you wanted. This is the hard disk in which you have to create a partition. So again, and for new, so again, if you want to take help, guys, you can press M and you can read all options here, right? So let's create, we have to create a new partition. So press enter. We have to create a primary, press P, enter. Again, default partition is selected, enter. First partition is selected. Okay. Second partition, let's suppose out of this 5 GB, you wanted to create only 4 GB. So then what you have to do here, you have to type 4G like this. So sorry, plus 4G, right? Out of in same hard disk, if you wanted to create multiple partition, you have to do like this, right? 4G. And if you wanted to create a single partition, don't have to do anything, just press enter. Understand, guys? Here you try to create multiple partition into the same. Okay, how you, let's suppose you wanted out of this 5 GB hard disk, you wanted to create one disk, one partition with 4 GB and one partition with rest 1 GB, right? So what you have to do, first you have to create one partition with 4 GB or either 1 GB, whatever you want, you can create 1 GB like this, right? So 1 GB partition will be added. See here it is written, right? Last sector plus sector or plus size is equal to KMGTP, right? KB, MB, GB, TB, and petabyte, PT, right? So let's create 5 GB only. Keep it default. So once press enter. Now created a new partition 1 of type Linux and 5 GB. So once you created a 5 GB partition, then you have to toggle it. Toggle means you have to define which kind of partition you are going to create, right? So you have to press T here and press enter. Once you will click on T here, you selected one. So see what it is saying, selected partition 1. So if you will have a multiple partition, it will ask you select which partition you want to toggle it. Toggle means you want to change the partition type. So here X code is its type L, capital L, to see the partition list. So see how many type of partition you can create or toggle. So see, let's suppose you wanted to create a fat partition. You can define one fat 16.6, or if you want to create a W95 fat, right? And let's suppose you wanted to create Linux swap partition. So Linux swap partition is 82. So in last class, when we created partition, we did not change it. We did not toggle the partition type. We created partition in the Linux 83. So by default, when you create any partition in Linux, by default, it create in the Linux, right? 83. But the better way, you can also toggle it. If let's suppose you wanted to create an NTFS partition, so this Linux partition will not work. So you have to create NTFS partition. So you have to toggle that partition so that you can understand. And if you wanted to create a LBM, you have to define this 8E. I hope you understand. So our partition is 83, which we have to define for that this curated partition. So type 83 and press enter. So what it is saying, change partition from Linux to Linux 1. So already it was Linux, so if you will not give, that is also okay. But if will give, it will change it. Now you have to press W, right? Once you will press W, that disk will be created and that change will happen. Okay, so now if you will run fdisk space, right, fdisk space -L sdc, you will see one partition is created here, right? If you will not define the disk here, it will automatically show all the partition in the server. Just like it will show all the disk, all the partition. See here. But if you will define particular partition, it will show for that particular disk only, right? So now one partition is created. Great. So now next thing, what we have done, we added physical hard disks. Now we created partition out of that particular hard disk, right? Now what you have to do, now you have to format your hard disks. Remember, when you use any pen drive, first time you have to format that pen drive, then only you can use it, right? So here also, now you added a hard disk and now you have to format that disk into the partition type, right? So multiple type is there. So if you see here, I have this mount command, right? See here, so many mount type is there. So let's see what partition is by default mounted. Either you can mount grep slash, oh, slab it will grep for everything. So better on see here, right? Don't see here, just see etc fs tab, right? So inside that you can see what partition, default partition is used on the slash. So the default partition on slash is used xfs, right? So either you can use xfs because xfs is a latest type of a disk, right? xfs disk. So in Linux, you can use either ext2, ext3, ext4, or either xfs. So latest one is the xfs. So what you will do, you have to format your disk into a particular type. So as you know, on your current system, xfs file system is mounted, so use the xfs only, right? So let's see how you will use mkfs dot. So see mkfs dot, how many type of options you have. You have ext2, ext3, ext4, fat is Windows supported. Let's suppose you are formatting any pen drive, so you will use fat, right? This one, or either vfat, xfs, right? So you have these options. So we have to format into the xfs, right? So this is the format in which we have to use. So dev sdc1, right? So this is the partition name, just format it. So this partition is format. Now you have to mount this disk into the desired location. So where you have to mount this, remember your question was mount a 5 GB disk into the data folder, right? So first, to mount that data folder, you will require the data folder. So let's see data folder. So data folder does not exist. So create this data folder, mkdir/data. Okay, so now this data folder is there. Now you have to mount your hard disk into the data folder. So what I'm going to do here, mount, and this is the disk name, which disk you are going to mount, right? Into the data folder here, enter, right? So this disk is mounted into the data folder. If you run df-h command here, you will see one partition of 5 GB mounted into the data folder. Able to see? See, in this data folder, this is mounted. So what is the size of this hard disk? 5 GB, right? How much is available? 5 GB. Always understand, guys? Right? So now this disk is mounted on the data folder. Now, again, here, if you will reboot your system, this mount file, it will automatically remove, right? Right? It will be removed. So let's verify that also. To make it permanent, what you have to do? To make it permanent, again, you have to do the same thing which you did into the swap file. Means you have to make permanent entry into the fs tab file. So how you will do? All right, let's run mount space slash grep data, right? See, so inside this mount, see, this data is mounted. What is this is the hard disk, this is the location where it is mounted, and this is the type, which type is mounted, and this one is the default type, right? So we have to do the same thing. So let's do this. How we will do? Vim etc fs tab. Inside this, again, you can just come in the last here, just type dev/dc, and where you have to mount this disk onto the slash data folder, right? And next, what type of disk is? It is XFS, right? And next, the option is defaults. I just wanted to use a default. So see, some error is there, I think. DFAULTS, right? So see, I did a typo. So see color, able to see color. It is not matching with others, right? So easily you can use. This is the uh, power of VIM. Okay. So defaults and then 0 options 0, right? So it is a priority, right? So you just save this entry, okay, and check mount space -a. And if you want to verify, you can reboot it. Reboot your system and you can verify. Your mount point will be there, right? After rebooting your system. Okay, let's see. Started. Okay, so run df-h command and see. See, now data folder is there. It is mounted and available into the system. So it does not matter how many times you will restart, it will be there. Okay. So this is how you can use fdisk to create a hard disk. And let's suppose how you can delete a hard disk, right, through fdisk. So next task, someone asks, hey, Emmanuel, just do one thing, just delete this hard disk and create two partition out of this hard disk and create one partition with 3 GB and one partition with 2 GB. What you will do? Remember, same thing you have to do. So very first, I'm just going to terminate. See, always remember, before working on the disk part, if you wanted to delete any partition or modify any partition, it is recommended always take backup of your system, right? Always take backup of your disk. So see, in current scenario, we don't have any folder or any data into the system, right? In this partition, we don't have any data. So it's fine. We can delete and we can recreate it. But if you will have data, make sure you take backup of that data first, then work on the disk level. So now I'm just going to destroy existing partition and create a two partition out of that disk. Okay, understood? Okay, so now very first thing what you have to do, just just comment this partition, right? Comment this partition first, commented. Now unmount this disk. How you will unmount? Slash data, or either unmount, you mount, basically you mount and then dev as dc1, right? I just unmounted. So if you will run unmounted, you will see now your data folder is not available here, right? Now, what you have to do, you have to run fdisk again, right here. Fdisk, you have to run fdisk command. Now, here, see, if you run pre-m here, so it will just give you options. So let's suppose here you wanted to see, right, list free on partition space. You will see f, so nothing is there, no free space is available into the system, all right? And if you want to the, all right, use here l, list known partition type, p, t the change, and d for delete the partition, right? So what we have to do, we have to delete the partition. So first, to create partition, definitely you have to delete partition. So first type D. Once you type D, see what it is saying. Partition 1 has been deleted because you had only simple one partition. So it did not give you a choice to select partition because only one partition was there. So once you press D, it will be deleted the partition. So now your partition is deleted. So until and unless you will write that partition, that change will not implement it, right? Even I have deleted the partition, but this is the temporary, this is not saved until you press W. Okay, understand? Now you deleted partition. Now we have to create a new partition. So again press N, enter. So first primary partition, okay, enter first partition, okay. Now here what we have to do, starting sector will be the default one, ending sector will be 3, sorry, plus 3G, enter. So what it is saying, partition 1 contain a XFS signature. So do you want to remove that signature? Yes, I just wanted to remove that signatures. Okay, now signature has been removed, and again you press N. See, now one partition is already done. So what it is saying here, see, now you one partition is done. You have 3 free, right? For if you want to create a primary. So again, let's create a primary. Now default partition number is 2 because one partition we have created earlier. So now default of 2. First sector is this one, and last sector is also default because you have only left 2 GB, right? So in last, you can use W now here. So whatever changes we have done till now, see what we did. If you will not even not press W, still you know, means you did not deleted everything in actual. That is a virtually only until and unless press W, right? So once you will press W here, then your complete changes will be done. So what it is, the kernel still uses the old table. The new table will be used at the next reboot or after you run part probe, right? So after you run part probe, so your kernel is using. So here either you run part probe command or either you reboot the system. So definitely you will not reboot. So you have to run part probe command, right? So this is the command you have to run and press enter. Okay, so now you run this part probe command and run fdisk space -l and see the disk here. See, SDC. In SDC, we have created two partitions. One partition with 3 GB and one partition with 2 GB, right? And both ID is 83. So by default, it is Linux one, so don't have to change it. Okay, so now partition is created. Let's format it. mkfs dot ext4. So I'm just going to format one disk into the ext4 here. Yes. Start SDC1 is mounted. Where it is mounted? We rebooted system. Oh, we rebooted system. You mount slash data. Okay. Okay. Yes. So it is formatted. Now we wanted to format SDC2 into XFS. XFS. Okay. Right? df-h. So now both partition we have formatted. So we have data folder already available, data, right? So let's create one more folder to mount second disk, data underscore one, right? Or either data one, right? So mount space slash dev SDC1 into data folder. What it is saying? So it is saying just reload the systemctl daemon reload. So not an issue. That's reloaded. So it is already mounted. You can verify that it is mounted or not. So it is mounted on the data folder, and you can mount now SDC2 into data one folder. Okay, so you can check df-h. See, both disk is mounted onto the server. So one is 2.9 GB means 3 GB, and one is 2 GB means. Understand, guys? So you recreated the structure, means you deleted the folder and recreated again, right? And if you want to make it permanent, again, same thing you have to do. What you have to do? You can just go into the first tab here, just remove it, YYP. See, the first one is ext4. This partition we formatted into ext4, and second one we formatted into the, right, XFS, right? So just save and run mount space -a and see, it is saying just this file got modified, so you can run this command. Okay, run again, mount, run. So it is saying SDC1 is mounted. Sorry, we have not, we have done mistake, because see, we have to change this, right? SDC2, because okay. So see, if you run mounted, right, it is giving error. This SDC1 is already mounted on data. So now, okay, and just reboot the system and verify once. Understand, guys, how you can use fdisk command to mount any, so to create any partition or format any partition or recreate any partition. Okay, so log in again and check df-h, Red Hat. Now run df-h command. See, your both partition is mounted, data one and data. Both are mounted in the system. Understand? So next thing, in some scenario, just like you are using this data and maybe someone asks you, hey, yeah, just do one thing, just remove this data from data point from server, right? Remove this and remove your entry from server. So you could, what you can do, right? You can just let's suppose some after some time, because let's suppose someone is doing some activity or they are performing some activity, extra activity, and they ask, hey, yeah, just do one thing, mount one extra disk on the system. So we have already performed how to mount the extra disk. Let's suppose now your work has been completed, and now they ask you, hey, Manuel, just do one thing, remove your disk, right? Whatever disk you have mounted on data and data one, remove it, right? Then what you will do? You have to just go into the etc fs tab first, delete this here, delete this into, either you can comment or either you can delete. It's your choice, right? If you want to keep that entry there, you can comment it, right? Like this, here, like this, or either if you want to delete permanently, you can delete. It's totally your choice, right? So I'm just going to delete it. So I have deleted it. And after that, I'm just going to save this file. Once you save this file, your permanent entry has been removed. And after that, you have to unmount this disk, right? So how you can unmount? You can use etc data like this, or either you can use the disk name slash dev slash sdc1, and one is unmounted, and you can unmount two also. Not two is unmounted. You can verify df-h. So there is no data and this one. And after that, if you want, you can delete this data folder, because this is blank folder. If you want to delete, you can delete it. If you don't want to delete, it's your choice, right? So now, if you will leave like this, also there is no issue because nothing is there. So if you will not mount any disk, that data folder will also take space from your root directory from here only. Okay. Now, after removing these, you have to see again. We are using here our virtual box. So any setting related changes, we have to shut down the server. So let's shut down the server. Init 0, right? Init 0 is used to shut down the server. Init 6 is used to restart the server, right? And go on your virtual machine again, right here, right? So this is the virtual machine. Go in the setting and go into the storage, and this is the disk which you added. Just remove it, right? So here, remove attachment. So you have not deleted that disk. That disk is still there in the system, right? Disk is still there in the system, but you have removed from server. You just clicked OK, and again you can start your server. That's it. This is how you will remove your disk. So when you will go in the real scenario, right? When you will go in the real scenario, you have to basically, you don't have to basically stop, right? Because in VMware also, you can add disk without rebooting. In KVM also, you can add disk without rebooting or remove disk without rebooting. And in any cloud like Oracle Cloud, Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, anywhere you will add or remove disk, you don't have to stop or restart your system, right? That can be added into the live environment without rebooting or without impacting your environment. Understand, guys? Understand how you can perform that activity?
Yeah.
Great. So I hope you understand this thing. So some other option is there also to basically format your disk and manage your disk. Just like I use fdisk always, and some other tool is also there like parted. So see parted. So it is not available into the, sorry, it is my system. Let me log in on server first. Red Hat parted. So this disk is also available. all right, here to see disk, right? So parted is also available to check your basically format any disk and all, right here. So quit, you have to use quit. Parted just like the SDB here. So print free. So you can simply see all some other type is there. So we will cover this parted tools some other day, right? For now, only app disk. Okay. So any of tool you can use to perform your activity, right? In Linux, to perform a same task, there are multiple way, right? No one say use this or this, use this one. It's totally depend on you, how expert you are into which tool or which command. Understand? You can use any of them. Parted is a little bit advanced tool than fdisk, right? Just like if you wanted to basically fdisk is a FAT32 disk, right? FAT32 disk. Let's suppose let me tell you the scenario also where you will use parted command to create a partition. When you have to create a disk more than 2 TB, understand? When you have to create a disk more than 2 TB, you have to use parted command to create a partition. Through fdisk command, you can create partition up to 2 TB only. Understand? Remember this very special question. Maybe when you will do the interview and people can ask you what is difference between a parted and fdisk, when you use parted and when you use fdisk, right? So you can use parted or fdisk with any scenario, does not matter. You have to create more than 2 TB only. Parted you can use with any of the commands. Just like if you want to create 2 GB file partition, also you can use parted. But fdisk you can only use till 0 to 2 TB, right? If you have to create more than 2 TB disk, you have to use parted command. Understand? Okay, guys. Any question on the disk management and all?
Maybe after practice.
Right. So this is the way to create disk into the command line. If you have a graphical partition in the system, you can also use that in what you can say. You can also use a graphical tool, right, to create a disk and all. Just give me one root red hat. All right, just let me just share some server here. Let's suppose on your server, right? On your server, you have a graphical mode installed, right? You can manage your disk and all from server also. So here, if you type disk, all right, see here we have a disk option. You can see all this graphically here, right? You can create, you can delete, you can manage your disk through this. Okay, this one, just like we have created as db1. So let's suppose you wanted to remove this disk, you just have to delete this like this, and that disk will be deleted. Okay, and let me just use terminal here first, and see graphical mode is also here available. So if you have a graphical mode, you can do same thing from like this. So other location, go in the computer here. Inside the computer, you can go in the etc folder. Inside etc folder, you have fs tab, right? Fs tab. This is the file, right? You can right click and open in the text editor. See, same thing you can do from graphical mode. So just comment this as db commented and just save it. I have saved. Save it again. Just unmount. You can unmount also other location here. This disk is there. Selected and setting. See inside this setting, what it is saying, right? Mount option and partition, restore, create partition, and it mount options, right? So you can use anything. So let's suppose I just go on here and terminal. You mount, sorry, this disk is not mounted, but we have to remove the swap of space hyphen, or either you can just leave as dp1. Okay, swap is removed. Free hyphen h command. Yeah, swap is removed now. So if swap is removed, you can just delete this. See, this one is stopped, right? Activate swap selected. If you want to activate, you can just place. The swap is activated. And if you want to remove, you just click again, it will be not activated. It is showing not activated, right? And now if you want to delete this partition, you can just delete it. That's it. Your unallocated space. Now your disk space is free. And if you want to create a new partition, you can click on create and see here it is saying size. If you want to create a 2 GB, next volume name, you can give any name, data, and then erase everything. If you want to erase all data, you can do erase. And here it is saying internal disk used with the file system ext4. And if you want to protect your server with the password also, you can use the password, right? So let's not use the password. And if you want to use any other file system, you can define your other file system from here. So let's use internal disk for use Linux file system only ext4. Okay. And now you just create it. See, now this disk is created. It is getting formatted here. Now disk is formatted. Now it is saying you have to mount this. So just play this. What it is saying, this data folder is mounted into system temporarily. So where it is mounted in run media root data folder, right? Run media root data folder. It is mounted. You can see here into df, right? Sorry. Control plus plus, control shift plus, see df hyphen h command. See this run, able to see this disk is mounted here. So this is mounted automatically. And if you want to mount it on a particular location, you can modify that right here. Where it is, this one. Okay. Stop mounting here. See, unmounted it. Now going to the setting, and here it is saying edit partition, edit file system, and edit mount option. So when you will click on edit mount system, it is showing here. So mount as startup. It's already, see, once you will check that, it will automatically create it. So here it is showing if you want to select a mount point, you can define that mount point here, right? Slash data. And then use session default. No. Okay. Now, if you want, you can mount it. So where it is mounted into the data folder. Again, if you can go on terminal and if you run df command, plus df hyphen h, you will see this data is mounted. See, understand guys? So you see how you can manage a disk through graphical mode and how you can manage disk into the command mode. Both options you can use, right? So many tools is there. You can explore by your also, right? So guys, see, I'm just telling you, right? It's your responsibility to explore all these tools, right? If you face any issue understanding any tools, you can ask me also, right? So I never ever use on the server, but when now you are learning in the Linux, so you should also aware about all these tools in a graphical mode, right? Same thing, whatever we did in the command mode till now, of everything you can do in the graphical mode too, right? Everything. System tool, all system related tool is there here in the system, right? Right? All system related tool is there. Right, disk, see, disk is there, and you can also use this disk is if you will have any bad sector. See here in the system it is saying you the status. All right, so when you will have any bad sector or any disk in the system, you will see all status here in the system. You will see all the status, right, in the system. If you will have any bad sector, it will show you, right, this system has some bad sector, or this system has some disk related issue. It will show you the information here in this one, assessment, inside the assessment. Okay, I hope this is good and you learn a lot today related to disk and you can manage. So in next class, we will learn about LVM, right? So very important thing, and LVM will come into the exam too, right? When you will give an exam of Red Hat, you have to work for the LVM. So one question you will get into the LVM, and LVM is a very you can say tricky question. It will be into the exam, and you have to understand LVM. It so LVM is logical disk manager, right? Volume manager, right? Logical volume manager. So in the system, if you will see here df-h, so by default, when you run install anything, that will install into the LVM only, right? So that will be display, see here. So LVM is mounted. So through LVM, what is the use of LVM? You can collaborate multiple disk into the single disk, and you can use multiple hard disk space into the single space, all right, to increase the system space and all. Okay, so we will learn into the next class. Okay, guys.